Welcome, I'm Daniel, and today I'd like to continue the discussion that I began in the previous episode about the nature of life and living things. To recap, what I argued last time was that vitality or a certain living force animates all matter, not just that which we call living things, but in fact all things. So in this way, as I am alive, so is the air around me, so is the ground on which I stand. So are all things, because we are all made from the same stuff and can all be converted back and forth into each other with just a simple reconfiguration. So in that way, if we do possess some sort of spirit and energy of life, that must be inherent to all things, not just to us. But a question which is raised is, what is a being? What am I, literally? Now, just from a physical perspective, this seems somewhat intuitive to answer. You'd say, oh, well, I am my body, I am this. But what is my body, precisely? Consider my lungs. They're full of air. Is that air part of me? You could say, yes, and that would make me a sort of solid being. You could say no, in which case I'm hollow, I have a lot of room inside me that isn't actually me. The answer is not immediately apparent which one of the two of those it is. And then consider the fact that I'm made up of trillions and trillions of cells, which each by themselves seems to be alive. Many of them grow or reproduce or do other things that other living things do. So are they alive? In which case, I'm not a being at all, you might say. I'm actually many different beings all together. But yet, I know I'm one being, I'm me. Now, you might try to solve this problem by using the notion of DNA. You could say all things that have my DNA are me, but that doesn't actually solve it. You think about mitochondria. Those don't have my DNA, they have mitochondrial DNA. It's different than the rest of my cells. Yet, it would seem very strange to look inside my cell and say, these bits of it, they're not you. You're just surrounding them. They're most certainly parts of me. Or are they? What am I? Am I my clothes? You might say, no, of course you're not your clothes. But imagine someone grabbed you by your clothes. You might well say, don't touch me. Not, don't touch my clothes. You could also say that, but that has a slightly different meaning. There seem to be so many competing definitions, so many competing ideas of what I could be. And one really doesn't seem to have any persuasive force over the other. In this way, beings are a matter of perception and definition. I don't think it's contradictory to say that I am many different beings. I am me, the body, plus the air and water and other matter inside of me. I am me minus those things. When I wear my clothes, I am me plus those clothes. I am all the cells within me, multitudinous organisms. I am one organism. I am all the individual components, all the individual machines within each cell. I am many different things, and they're all valid from some point of view. In this way, what a being is whatever you want it to be. Anything can be a being. And when we understand that anything can be a being, and that anything that exists is alive, we understand that there are many different forms of life. I am a living being, my cells are living beings, the particles which make up everything are in their own way living beings. Thus, from the level of people down, there are so many forms of life. And I believe you can also go upwards. You can have people plus other things. You can have a family. I think a family is a wonderful way of demonstrating this principle, because a family does all the things we normally ascribe to a traditional being. A family eats, it does, its individual members consume food, it reproduces, quite literally, the children of the family go out into the world and create families of their own. A family conversation at the dinner table is like thoughts being exchanged in our brains. They're ideas going back and forth. Things are figured out. A family has eyes because its individual members have eyes, and using those eyes, They can see things and then report back to the nexus of the family and say what they've seen. It's an analogous process to what our eyes do with our brain. It's not a very traditional process, at least in the way we're used to thinking of it, but it still works. The difference between a family and an organic being is that while an organic being communicates with chemical signals, a family communicates with sonic ones, with tactile ones, with linguistic ways of communication. But it's still communication. A family can see and hear and think and eat and grow. It can do all the things a living thing can do. So a family is a type of being. In much the same way, you can extend this process upwards and upwards to include cities, nations, planets, the whole universe. That subject I'll be covering next time because I think it deserves a little bit more depth. But I think the key to what I am trying to express here is the idea that whatever you care to define as a being can work very validly as a being. It can have validity as a being, even if it functions in a way that's not very traditional to what we think of as beings. So in this way, there are many more forms of life than we are normally accustomed to thinking about. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.